What is up, everyone? Welcome to this episode of Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Demmer. On today's show, we're going to talk about the continuing COVID issues, and we're going to talk about JB Bickerstaff's contract extension. That's all coming up today on Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Evan, before we get into today's show, I want to remind our listeners that we want to thank them for making Locked On Cavs their first listen every day. Remember, we're free and available on all platforms, and we're continuing that march to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So give us a belated Christmas present and go hit subscribe right now. But how you doing, buddy? How was your Christmas?
It was good, man. It was good. It was good, all things considered. Yeah, if you want to give us a belated Christmas gift, call it like a COVID Christmas, because I got a lot of those going on this week. But it was good, man. How was yours?
It was good. Took a little, time away. I hot take. I enjoy that we don't cover a team that plays on Christmas. I like having actual Christmas Day to just kind of vibe around and not have to to think about work. The Cavs did do they did leak out and then announce the news that JB Bickerstaff got a contract extension. So I think we should just start there. I was gonna say, bearing the lead here and kind of breaking the rule of news and bearing that news. But this is the most important thing. The COVID stuff going on right now and the quality of basketball we're seeing it exists. We'll talk about it later in the show. But Evan, JB Bickerstaff has signed a contract extension that's going to, in theory, keep him through Cleveland through the 2026-2027 season. We'll both be in our 30s when that extension comes and if that comes and goes.
That's what I was doing the math in my head for, because I turned 29 in less than a little over a month. I will definitely be in my mid-30s if JB sees that contract to his end in Cleveland, and that's disgusting to think about. I'll probably have children by the time JB Bickerstaff's contract's over.
Well, he'll be almost 50, so take the wins where you can get them, my friend. But
looks good for 50. I need to hit him up for his routine.
Look, the key, you know what the key is? Get paid lots of money to be a basketball coach and have some wealth.
South Park made the joke himself. That's how Magic Johnson beat AIDS, is money.
That's true. So, but JB Bickerstaff signs his extension. He's obviously been the Cavs head coach since taking over for John Beilein midway through the 2019-2020 season. That feels about 9 billion years ago. It really wasn't all that long ago. This is technically Bickerstaff's third head coaching job, but he's obviously an interim in Houston and then took over in Memphis kind of towards the tail end of the Marcus Gasol, Mike Conley era down there. This was the first time I think a lot of people would argue that he has been empowered to be a coach. It is obviously, I think, the reason he gets this extension, which we don't know the financial terms of, but I would just gather he's well paid, is that we are in a spot. Yeah, he was the highest paid assistant in the league, if I remember correctly, or one of the highest paid assistants. And
I like where this cycle's going.
Well, the Cavs have a habit, which is you hire a coach who doesn't work, you have to fire in spectacular fashion, and then the assistant ends up who you wanted to hire, who maybe you wanted to hire all along, who perhaps the GM wanted to hire all along and not the owner.
There you go.
Ends up working out. There we go. Look at that. But I think this is an interesting decision because I think if you go on how this year's gone, he's certainly, I think, one of the front runners for Coach of the Year. He's certainly one of the guys. He's done a great job with this team. I think he was the right voice post John Beilein by all accounts. He's resonated with kind of everyone on the team. I think, has done a lot to kind of simplify things for a younger team. And they're obviously having a ton of success this year. They've had one of the best. They have had, I think, inarguably the best turnaround of any team from last year to this year. They've been good. They look like a playoff team at this point. We'll see how good, and how far they go. But JB has done, I think, a really, really good job of managing this roster, of managing this team. It's interesting that they went this route to give him this extension, and not just like a shorter extension. Like, they're gonna bump it up for several years. This is like a 5-year down the road kind of thing. We're not even 2022 yet, So this is a long way away.
It's a 5-year contract extension.
Yeah, and that's bold. That's bold. So what was your when this comes through and we get the Woj bomb? Over Lake Erie. What popped you about this?
Well, since Woj blocked me, I didn't know this. I found out myself. Then I saw Woj reported it first. But I think it's well deserved. I think JB really, like you said, is a front runner for Coach of the Year this year. Not only has he turned Denzel Valentine and Lauri Markkanen into serviceable players, something the Chicago Bulls can never do.
Quit hamming it up on behalf of the people who aren't even cutting you checks, Evan. Continue.
Not hamming it up. I have always been a fan of JB Bickerstaff. I think people always asking, like, I've done several radio appearances at this point. That's always like the first question is, why is this team doing so well? And I'm like, I think it's just because JB Bickerstaff has his finger on the pulse of this team. And he has tried a lot of unconventional things. I think he said a lot of the right things too, where you ask him, like, well, why are you playing big? He's like, well, it is a copycat league, but we don't have the wings and the guys to play small ball a la Golden State or Houston, who took it to like the furthest extreme possible. So he's like, well, we're just going to lean in on being big. And it's worked. I've firmly maintained the mentality. It's only weird if it doesn't work. And it's worked. The Cavs have shot up their winning percentage by like 28.8% last I checked, based on just the this year, from last year to this year, which is incredible. And yeah, man, why not reward the guy who has been a key part of this turnaround? Is clearly, if you believe what the team said when Bayline stepped down, there was always the plan to have Bickerstaff take over. This has always, I guess, been in the plans all along. So,
just to be clear, I don't know if I believe that. I really don't know if I believe that. That was a convenient thing to say. I'm just saying.
I wholeheartedly agree. I just think
I'm skeptical of a lot of things when they like say these things, just because they're so like, it's like so convenient to just have these like, you know, reasons for like things happening. And I'm just like, okay, this is sus. This is sus.
Just a little bit. But yeah, man, it's just, I'm interested to see where this goes. We will talk about COVID ball probably in the next break and the following segment after that too, if you really want to, or we'll just kind of potpourri the last bit.
I think there's more to say about JB. And for me,
there is.
I think what has stood out is that I think what I think works for him is that he's very practical. I think that JB Bickerstaff is not like, and I wonder if you ask him this and what he would say, but I don't think he's like Nick Nurse or Spoelstra or like that Carlisle kind of coach, where I think he's going to be like exacting with a scheme, exacting with kind of
defensively maybe.
Well, but even then, I think what we've seen him do is say like, okay, I have these two like 7-foot like monsters in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and I'm gonna like make my scheme center around what those two guys can do, because I'm just not gonna mess around and I'm gonna lean into that talent, right? Like there's a reason that like part of the reason that Lauri Markkanen has worked as a 3, and like those 3 big lineups, so to speak, have worked, is because JB Bickerstaff they don't watch. If you're watching the next Cavs game when Lauri and those two guys play, and we'll see when all these guys get out of COVID protocols and are healthy and good enough to go into pass their conditioning tests. But watch Lauri Markkanen when he's defending a wing. Let's say it's like Paul George when they played the Clippers, or you know, if it was going to be Brandon Ingram on Tuesday, which one happened
on the docket?
Well, Ingram hurt his Achilles. He's not going to play on Tuesday. He's had some Achilles soreness. He's not going to play Tuesday. But like
maybe future Cavalier Karis LeVert on January 2nd.
Just pick a wing. When that wing is running a screen, is a ball handler in a screen action, and that the big, let's say it's Mobley's guy, the Cavs are not saying like, hey, Lauri, fight over the screen. They're saying, hey, Evan, just switch that. Like, our scheme is going to be relying on these two guys to do really, really special stuff on that end of the floor to make it work, to kind of set us to make that scheme work. And I think like that is the philosophy that has kind of guided this team in a lot of ways. It is, okay, we're going to like do the really simple stuff. We're going to execute that really, really well. And we're going to keep it kind of vanilla. And I'm going to relate to these guys. I think one of the things that like was obviously one of the big transitions from all the reporting we saw with Beeline, from, you know, maybe Kevin Love is the biggest example of this in some ways. It's like they went from Beeline, who just like didn't seem to get along with anybody, to a guy that is, I think, like very well liked. And we'll see how this goes. I mean, we'll see how long this lasts. Again, 5 years is like a bold extension, Cotton, because it's just like a long time. But like, if you're going to try to be stable, and I think that's something I want to talk about more in the next segment. If you're going to be normal for at least like, and be in a normal phase of your franchise history, where the owner, someone making the decisions right now is like more worried about like art than he is like meddling in franchise decisions, let's say. Like, this is a way to do that. And I think one of the other things that makes me happy about this is that JB Bickerstaff is in a profession where you are guaranteed nothing. You're guaranteed nothing. But what is guaranteed is the money that he's going to get paid the rest of that contract. So salute to securing the bag, and you take that. And I think that's great.
Yeah, maybe the interesting thing is maybe JB's contract was a bit of a trial period, and the trial renewed without the Cavs' consent. And what can help them with that, Chris, if they want to avoid doing that going forward? Today's sponsor,
Fucking
TrueBill.
TrueBill.
Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam out to get you. Do not, and I mean do not, let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download TrueBill today to take control of your subscriptions. TrueBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you do not need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your account and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscription in one tap. And your TrueBill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. TrueBill has saved over 2 million users and helped save them over $100 million combined. That's a lot of money. Do not fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now. Truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/lockedonnba. Disclaimer. Failure. Oh, never mind. Disclaimer, JB Bickerstaff's contract was not a trial. I was just using it as a creative way to segue into the ad. Welcome back to Locked On Cavs.
Really butchered me having to insert some ads there. Evan, just so you know, really made it harder. Anyway, Evan, I'm going to bring up. Yeah, you did, but it's okay. I will edit
disclaimer
around
was a
it.
disclaimer for the ad copy, and I was just like, "Oh no, this actually isn't a disclaimer." So I had to come up with one on the spot.
Well, I think I've read it. It's fine. It happens. I'm gonna bring this up because I thought this was one of the better tweets that I saw about the JB thing. This is from Jason Lloyd from The Athletic. So with this extension, JB Bickerstaff will become the Cavs' longest tenured coach since Lenny Wilkins if he makes it to the end of his new deal. A chance for some much needed stability for a franchise on the right. So if you're on YouTube, you can see this tweet. You can see
Jason
it.
Lloyd said something nice about the Cleveland Cavaliers, folks. If you're on YouTube, you saw it first. But if you're not,
again,
go ahead.
Evan, put down those water pails and come back to me. Anyway,
I'm not carrying water, but Jason Lloyd never has anything good to say about the Cavs.
I'm just saying I'm just teasing you, but that is also something the organization says a lot. And frankly, they don't always deserve it. But here's the thing. That is just like a crazy thing to consider, considering like the Cavs had Ty Lue, who is perhaps one of the 4 or 5 best coaches in the entire NBA. Like on their, and like obviously that they broke up and like there was a lot going on there, but like they had him. They have had that, and Lenny Wilkins was the coach of the team like back in the 80s into the 90s. Like that says so much to me about what the Cavs have been for like the last 20 years. It's just like, and obviously like NBA coaching cycles have changed. Like guys come in and out much more than they used to, all that stuff. But like, good Lord, they could not like have like a normal like 6 months for the longest period of time. And like we are in the longest stretch of Cavs normalcy in like a long time. Like I honestly, considering those LeBron years were also not normal, like maybe I don't even know when this is like the most like kind of stable Cavs stretch has been. And I think JB is a part of that. I think culture, like I think it matters. I was thinking I'm a big culture matters guy. I don't totally know like the percentage of credit he would get, because I think sometimes winning helps, and I think sometimes just getting really, really good players in your building helps. But I think JB is a kind of guy that is gonna try to build something that does feel like a good work environment for everyone. I think that matters. I do.
Sorry, I was chuckling to myself because speaking of Lenny Wilkins, we read Terry Pluto's Cavs history book. It's in my bedroom bookshelf, but I just chuckled to myself because Terry Pluto is now singing the praises of this Cavs team because they remind him of the Lenny Wilkins Cavaliers and how they play for each other and not themselves. It's not 3-point centric, but yeah, this Cavs team works. JB works as a head coach.
That's also the 3-point thing is just like, okay, Boomer, get off your couch anyway.
Yeah, like get off my lawn, old man, kind of takes. But
the Cavs are also like average in 3-point rate. Like it's not like
the Cavs are incredibly average offensively. They're like 13th in offensive rating or lower than that, but they're a defensive team. They just somehow make this offensive system hum. And like I asked JB about this because like they're down Lowry or they're down Evan Mobley or they're down Jared Allen. And I'm like, you plug Dean Wade into the lineup for Evan Mobley in the scenario. And granted, they're playing a really bad Rockets team, but like the system still hums. Things still work. Things are fine. I think the Cavs have full faith in what JB's trying to build. And I think it's not really, it shouldn't be refreshing for us because last season was a COVID condensed schedule. JB didn't really get the opportunity to implement his systems to the fullest of his vision.
They
And
also
I
didn't
think
have Evan Mobley. They also just
that
didn't have
too.
Evan Mobley.
That too. And they also didn't have Jared Allen. They had Andre Drummond starting over Jared Allen. What a weird season last year was. It feels so long ago. But
Yeah, like I think this it's both like you have more normalcy now to some degree, and like you got a generational talent, and you have Jared Allen for a full year. Like I think these things go hand
Chris
in hand.
Manning called Evan Mobley a generational talent. I like that. I'm
Facts.
just saying, man, all
Spitting
the
facts.
stuff I've been eating the drum on since the beginning of the season that Evan Mobley is going to be one of the best in this class and then JB should get coach of the year consideration. I'm just feeling really good about myself because I gave some really bad betting advice on betting the under on this Cavs team to start the season.
Literally, we will have Ben Axbar back on to just roast ourselves for that one.
Shame.
30 minutes just like self-fledged. Yeah.
Just have your wife stand in the corner and go shame and shame ring the bell.
No, I will not do that. That's no. The other thing about this that I think is interesting is that like I'm gonna just do a very Chris Manning thing here. Is like this is one of those times where like if I'm Kobe Altman, just like do it 15 minutes with the media and like take the victory lap. Like let me ask you some questions,
No,
but
man.
take the
From the
victory
desks
lap.
of Kobe Altman, he'll take the victory lap.
Just hop on a Zoom, my dude. Let's go. Hop on a Zoom.
Yeah.
This is just one of those times where like I want to ask him stuff that he's not going to say in his very meticulously crafted press release. There's just like a lot about this that I think is really interesting because it comes out on Christmas. It is leaked through Woj on Christmas. Like the timing is interesting. Like I think it's good for JB. I think it's in a lot of ways a good move for him. I don't know if it's like an A+ thing just because it's like 5 years is a long time in the NBA, and I like who Lord knows where
I still
anything will
think
be
they're
in like
paying
2
Ty
years.
Lue and they're still paying John Boehline.
Dude, they're still paying J.R. Smith, so like the Cavs have are paying
I
people
saw
lots
you
of money.
saying JR should come back for the culture. I think
I just it's a vibe. I want to like he asked for a 10-day. You're already paying him. Give him a little extra scratch and just, for the vibe, renew the
would the
relationship.
10-day void his current buyout?
I have no idea. I don't
Wouldn't
care.
that be
I just want
interesting?
the
Wouldn't
vibe.
that be a weird way for the Cavs to circumvent their salary cap situation to sign J.R. Smith to a 10-day?
I
I would love
I
it.
just I like if you're gonna have to sign stuff, like I just give me one vibe guy, like just give me one like vibe situation. But I'm curious to see also just I mean I think the key to this JB thing, just to kind of wrap that up, is how this evolves and how this Cavs team evolves over time and how he evolves with it. I think will probably be how we look back at this because
Yeah.
there is going to be some kind of the Cavs have evolved this year, right? Like Mobley and Allen and Garland is the triumvirate of the team's success. I think has led them to some kind of evolution. They're going to get, as Evan Mobley in particular evolves into whatever kind of crazy good player he's going to be, and the team figures out how to build more with him and all that stuff. Like, I think how he evolves with it is going to probably dictate how this deal ultimately plays out. But I'm happy for him. I think we speak for you that we've both like I enjoy. Like I find him just like engaging to talk to, even if he gives you a lot of cliches. He gave us a bunch of time on the pod once. And I'm going to be transparent and say like, I'm grateful that he was willing to do that. And that kudos for my book. Like, I think how this evolves next season, as the team makes some moves, as this team like figures out what it is. And again, as Evan Mobley like grows up, that's going to dictate, I think, how a lot of this goes because how he evolves with the team will just be sort of, I think, a thing to follow here.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I just think this Cavs team is a perfect storm, and I do think Evan Mobley is the linchpin, the straw that stirs the drink, whatever you want to call it. I didn't feel good about their chances when Colin Sexton went down, but they just keep moving because, like Chris said, they found their triumvirate in, I love that word, by the way, in Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen, and how they build around those three will be interesting going forward, but clearly they're beginning that process by committing so much money to JB Bickerstaff up front because JB Bickerstaff is the one who's kind of like established this. So maybe give him the leeway and the ability now to really build out this roster to his vision and maximize the potential of those three aforementioned players as well.
All right. After the break, we're going to talk about COVID ball and how weird Cavs basketball kind of is right now.
I'll have a vibe question for Chris on the top too.
Love a vibe question. Anyway, first got to tell everyone about our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar out there on the market. If you're a Locked On Cavs listener, you already know that. You've probably ordered a ton already, and they're great. I love Built Bar. I had one this morning after a workout. I have one pretty much every single day. I know Evan has one after he works out. They're his post kind of go-to snack, and they have so many great flavors. He punched the mic. There we go. They have raspberry, mint brownie, cherry, double chocolate, cookies and cream, peanut butter brownie. When cookie dough's in stock, you got to stock up on that. And I gotta say, if you need a late Christmas present, if your buddy got you a Christmas present and you're like, crap, I didn't get him anything, I need to, or her, I need to get them something, order some Built Bars. Say, hey, look, I know you're trying to get those gains in the new year. Try these Built Bars. The guys at Locked On Cavs said they're great and help get that protein. Look, 130 calories to 180 is really, really healthy. There's 18 grams of protein in just about every single one of these bars. They're really good tasting. You can't beat it. So go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15. You're going to get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Okay. Evan, hit me with the vibe question first before we ruin the mood.
So if you had to do a vibe signing just for the feels, just to really like make fans nostalgic, and you had to sign them to a 10-day deal, who would you pick? J.R. Smith, Dion Waiters, or I'm adding this for emphasis, Antonio Lang off the bench?
My answer is actually Channing Frye.
You know, if Channing or RJ wanted to suit it for the Cavs
Channing has also just like tweeted a lot about how he's not in shape to do that, and like that's probably true. But I just think he's
overall vibes. Like Kevin Love's mood would like increase.
Give Kevin Love a bestie to hang out with. You know,
sign Kevin Love to an extension and announce they signed Channing Frye to a 10-day in the same day.
Yeah, same press release.
It's like a footnote. Oh, by the way, we signed Channing Frye per Kevin's request.
Dion would just be like fascinating on a lot of levels. I don't think that's happening.
See, that's the thing. Like, I want to watch Dion Waiters play. Like
the Cavs, I want to see Dion get it.
To watch it.
Dion is a guy that I think should go to the G League. I would like. There's a lot of guys that have had success. Nick Stauskas, Isaiah Thomas, Lance Stevenson are all like in the league right now after going into the G League for a bit.
Team. That's like a pipeline to the NBA.
Yeah. Sioux Falls, obviously, I think had Brandon Knight got called up amid all this COVID stuff. Dion Waiters go play in the G League. I would like to see it.
Brandon Knight got called up.
Yeah, I don't remember by who he got signed by.
The Mavs.
Yeah, he's playing for
good for B Knight.
Yeah, he's playing for the Sioux Falls Skyforce.
No, I know that.
Just something funny about someone from like South Dakota right now, like being a COVID replacement call up. But alas, we're not going any further on that. I did that, not you. But anyway, Evan, COVID stuff with the Cavs is tricky because the Cavs got shellacked by Boston, and then they shellacked the Raptors. Okay,
there's context to both.
The context for me is I don't feel like I learned anything. I don't feel like we're like deciphering a lot of information about these teams right now because like these are like the Raptors that the Cavs played are not the actual Toronto Raptors. There's no Scotty Barnes. There's no Fred VanVleet. There's no OG Anunoby. Like that was not Toronto. And the Cavs team that like played Boston was obviously not the full Cavs team, but like Boston had its own COVID issues as well. But like these teams are not like fully functional right now, you know? Like I'm just like these teams are kind of fake and we're just kind of getting through it right now until, Okoro comes back and Mobley comes back and we go down the list.
Yep. No, I absolutely agree. So here's the context I was talking about though. So JB Bickerstaff shared after they got shellacked by the Celtics that due to COVID protocols and the fact that they had to test everybody to make sure who is and isn't negative and do multiple tests to make sure that everything's foolproof because there is no real certainties with this pandemic and that's why you should mask up and get vaccinated anyways. They only practiced for about 30 minutes the night before they played Boston and then flew out to Boston to play them that day. Nick Nurse shared with the media last night that the Raptors only practiced for about 30 minutes before they got shellacked by the Cavs. COVID makes it tough, and like Chris said, if you really want to put it into context, the Raptors were missing 12 players because of health and safety protocols and injuries, and that's incredible to think about.
That's a whole freaking team.
That's a whole team. That's almost a whole team, and so yes, I think it's encouraging to see the Cavs continue to beat bad teams because that Raptors team was bad just because of the amount of talent missing and then what they had to put on the floor. I think it's encouraging the Cavs didn't play down to them and they played their style of basketball and beat them. But there's not a lot to glean from some of these bigger wins still. This is just an overarching theme just in general with the Cavs. Like Miami, they have beaten the bricks off the Heat twice, but the Heat were missing Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler in both of those games. And if you held a gun to my head and said the Miami Heat are playing the Cleveland Cavaliers in a best-of-7 series and the Heat are finally fully healthy, I would take the Heat in 6 probably, because I think Eric Spoelstra would figure out ways to make the Cavs uncomfortable and would copy what the Bucks did with Drew Holiday in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
But there is something to say that this Cavs team just keeps humming along. I think they're just a perfectly good average team. Like the expectations aren't so high. I think we're having so much fun because the expectations were lower than low when the season started, and to have them kind of achieve these heights, 20 wins this early into the season when they didn't hit that point until really late into last. They didn't win 20 games last year, did they?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Couldn't
so they
tell
didn't
you
even
because like time just doesn't feel real to me. But yeah, I don't think
no,
so.
and I'm still getting over my holiday haze, but it's just encouraging to see this Cavs team beat bad teams. I'm interested to see how they handle their yes, they're going to be getting players back. Like Okoro is questionable because he's conditioning to get back onto the floor, and I think that's part of the next test is he's allowed to be around the team and practice them now, but then now they have to make sure is he healthy enough to actually play, and does he have the lung capacity to play? Because again, Kevin Love stressed that the hardest thing was getting back to the floor physically wasn't hard, but learning how to breathe the stuff. But like they play New Orleans, which could be interesting because they're a hot and cold team. Washington, interesting as
Well,
well.
but without Brandon Ingram, it's sort of like perhaps like because he's out with Achilles torn, is probably like doesn't
Yeah,
seem like that's going to be a
I'm
full strength
not
Pelicans team.
putting asterisks next to, and they're going to be about Zion's as well, obviously. But
Well,
like,
yeah,
you
your
can't put
fantasy
an
team knows it all
asterisk.
too well because you pick Kyrie and Zion, which is incredible flex by you, buddy.
You know, sometimes I just like to light $20 bills on fire. This time I did it virtually, but you really derailed me there,
You're
Chuckaroo.
welcome.
But I'm not saying put asterisks next to these games because Washington's going to be without Brad Beal because he entered health and safety protocols, and like Atlanta going to be a questionable game. Like Indiana, they aren't good, but it's going to be tough. It's like they play Portland, Golden State, Sacramento, Utah, San Antonio, and Oklahoma City, who the Thunder aren't bad. They're kind of in a similar position to the Cavs, so they're kind of clicking and grooving at the same time. They're just all the young talent starting to work, and then they play Brooklyn and Chicago after that. Like that's going to be the real test, depending on who is and isn't available, because players can't exit health and safety protocols for the Cavs, so they can re-enter. Is what I'm trying to get at. And like
Yeah.
Chris and I were talking at the beginning, like Matt Moore said it best. Like there's no good wins, there's no bad wins or losses. They're either wins or losses right now because this isn't really real basketball we're watching either. This is like. I know no discredit to what the guys in the G League are doing. Like they are really pumping out talent, and I think it's great that the league is utilizing this development pool finally. But this isn't the apex of basketball either. Like the Cavs are adapting to the given situation like all the other teams in the league are, and they're trudging along. I'm just curious to see what happens when they're fully healthy. Maybe they run into a team that has had better fortune as well when it comes to this COVID situation.
Yeah, look, I think this is just I think my TLDR on this whole thing. If you're wondering, okay, what should I think of? How should I conceptualize this? My sort of take on that is just if you can win games right now, and you can like
Good.
beat Toronto, go 1-1, go like 500-ish while you're navigating this, and you continue to have to plan because the whole league is having to play on right now. Like that's just what is happening. You can feel how you want to feel about it. I'm not going to tell you how to feel about it, but that is what is happening. Is that the league is going to push through this. Nate McMillan basically said this, and they're without Trae Young and a bunch of other guys. Like he was like, we have 10 guys, 11 guys healthy. We're going to play, right? Like that's just what we're doing here. So I think what the reality of this is just if you can win games and you can navigate these stretches, then come back fully healthy and continue to go. That's not a terrible place to be at the end of this, And again, the Cavs, we don't know if anyone else will, end up. It's impossible for us to sit here and predict. Is there going to be a stretch where Darius Garland, for instance, like is in COVID protocols, or Ricky Rubio, or whatever? Like we don't know. It's impossible to predict. For the Cavs' sake, like you would hope that they get kind of lucky and avoid that. They obviously did with no Mobley, no Allen is like a really, really tricky thing for them as well. this is just going to be something I think every team obviously is navigating. But if you can win games, you can kind of make the most of these not fun times, let's say, to put it mildly, and get through. And you can continue to win games that you need to win and beat teams that are down bad worse than you. I think you have to just take that as a win for what it is and accept it and know that this season is just going to continue to be weird and that you're going to have no one's really benefiting from this, but if you can just win games, that's enough as we kind of trudge on here. And again, I'm taking very little, like I hope that like someone maybe cleaning the glass or maybe someone else could just like factor out some of these games because like I don't know what to do with the data from the Toronto game in thinking about this Cavs team. Like I don't know if that game, like when I'm thinking about what the team is big picture, I don't think I can like take that game and like apply it to my thinking. I just I can't. Like I just look at what Toronto was and I'm just like I don't know how any of this mattered. Like the Cavs won and the schedule keeps moving on and talking to people in the league and stuff. Like I think that's what a lot of people in the league generally just want, not just like the people at the top, but like it's kind of brutal, man. It's kind of brutal.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard up there for a pimp, but I think this is also just a reality of the situation too, that you have to just learn how to adapt and keep moving forward. Because, like Chris said, the league is not going to stop playing, and it's mostly just because of finances. And like the bubble was like a not
There will never,
viable.
yeah,
There will never be another
yeah.
bubble because it was not viable financially, and it is really hard to contain grown men
And
and treat them
well,
like
and
kids.
I think mentally for the players and the people that were there, I don't think it was, I don't think that was fun. Let's say, I think they
Yeah,
got over it.
being away from your family for months on end does not sound like a fun time, and being stuck inside Disney Orlando when they don't have the Avengers campus sounds like hell to me because you have to go to Universal, and Universal is nowhere near better.
Yeah, unless they're just like big Harry Potter heads. All right, that's gonna be it though. We're gonna wrap it up there. This has been Locked On Cats for Monday, December 27th. We'll be back this week. Obviously, we'll be covering Cavs Pelicans, covering anything else that happens. We'll see again. It looks like perhaps Okoro and Mobley should be back this week. We'll see kind of how that goes. We'll keep you updated. Check out Locked On Now if you want to cross the stuff every night. And remember, we want to thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every day. Remember, we're free and available on all platforms. May I suggest as a second listen, Locked On Browns, Jeff Floyd crushing over there, covering everything going on with the Cleveland football team as they kind of get towards the end of their season as well. So go check it out. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit subscribe on YouTube if you have not already. Everyone, be well.